My name is Shalom Brody. I believe that the Bikes for Building bill is very important for the future biking in New York City. I think many more people would bike to work. In fact, Transportation Alternatives did a study and found that the #1 reason people who want to bike to work can is because they have nowhere to put their bikes. So this is a huge bill that will actually, if it passes, change the landscape of New York City forever.
It only allows access in the building, but it doesn't pertain to having them provide parking in the building. That can still be a problem. Even though you have access, they can still deny you, well, we have no place for you to put the bike.
If you took your folding bike, you could just put it under your desk.
That's an idea. So
yeah.
I do have a folding bike, so maybe I can try to stuff it in that little bag.
That's right.
And then try to bring it in. It says it's just my suitcase.
I'm going to be sitting up there trying to look smart. I don't get to ask any questions because I'm the lawyer for the committee.
Do you ride a bike?
Yeah, I do, but I haven't ridden one in a while.
Now, what a great place for a shot of a ticket. If someone hadn't bought my bike out from under my butt, I'd have it here. Never mind. And I had the pleasure of sitting in front of Paul Steele, White, Executive Director of Transportation Alternatives.
Bikes and buildings is something we've been fighting many years.
And this extremely dapper young man here is Wiley Novell.
I work in communications at Transportation Alternatives.
Oh, he's just handed me this document here to support the bicycle access bill. What are we hoping to get out of today?
Today's bill is basically allowing people who have bikes, who commute to work, to bring them into the office buildings. So that means no more building managers or landlords telling you you can't bring your bike inside, at least in the case where your employer allows you to set aside space for it.
Is this like a first hearing or is this a conclusive?
This is a first hearing, but after 10 years of pushing on this issue, that's a pretty big deal to get a hearing, and we have I think a majority of City Council in favor of it, so we're hoping for its prompt passage.
Well, I was hoping someone was going to roll a folding bike in here, and it would have been me if someone had...
No, you can't bring a bike into City Hall.
Really? You've tried it, have you? Or?
Yeah, we've tried it.
Did you try a folding bike?
No, I haven't tried a folding bike.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, look, let's just see what happens. So as this document tells us, this Intro 871 doesn't require landlords and building owners to set aside space for bicycle parking, just to let people in. Where you park your bike is up to you, and 4 companies here show that they let employees park it beside their desk, or they've actually got separate entrances.
The number of people cycling increased 75% from the year 2000 to the year 2006.
One 15-minute bike ride to and from work 5 days a week can burn the equivalent of 11 pounds of weight in 1 year.
As Rick mentioned, cycling is good for our health, good for the environment, and good for our pocketbooks. And it's a crucial part of a sustainable future.
That over 50% of respondents who would like to commute by bicycle but do not cited the lack of bicycle storage at their destination as the reason, making it the #1 reason keeping people from riding their bicycles to work.
The Department of City Planning's 2007 bike survey found the leading reason most cyclists don't bike to work is the lack of secure bike parking, which is really not a surprise given that thousands of bikes are stolen off city streets each year.
Some 70,000 a year are stolen in the city.
And this latest iteration is by far the best to date because it focuses solely on bicycle access.
The legislation will lead to higher costs and lost revenue for our members. For example, loss of rentable square footage, frequent use of the freight elevator and expanding the hours of its operation, higher insurance premiums for owners and managers, increased costs related to security, and potential damage to building infrastructure.
They can have them for safety reasons, for security reasons, and for just protection of the walls and the elevator cab.
When it rains, this miraculous rug appears. We all have things to put the umbrella in. I'm just saying, if that's a concern, then on the marble floor, I'm trying to be nice. I like you guys, but I think, I mean, we should all be on a bicycle.
How to screen bicycles and bicyclists for terrorist activity.
Huge numbers of buildings today, people bring bicycles in and out the front door and through the lobby and in the passenger elevators. It may not always be convenient, but it's happening. And I just don't know where this is coming from. There can be reasonable regulation, but to say that you shouldn't require it is beyond me. We've got a new world, Mr. Chairman, that we're being pulled, kicking and screaming into, and it's about time for the real estate industry to understand that that is a new world. And from comments that I've seen in some of the testimony, a few people in your industry are beginning to understand that.
So I understand that in your mind this might be a taking, but when it's a taking for the interest of the public, then I say take.
Councilwoman, I would agree with you if in fact the council had demonstrated that this was for the interest of the public, but there's been no such proof offered. There's been no proof offered that the folks who are currently commuting by bicycle once upon a time came by car. They could have just as easily walked, they could have just as easily been using a subway train, which is non-polluting and not contributing to the type of conditions you're talking to. What I'm trying to say is that this is a taking, and in order to execute the taking, government must demonstrate that it's necessary. They fail to do that because they have no data whatsoever to demonstrate that these folks have left their cars to come by bicycle.
Let me just say that in a court of law, there's such a thing as judicial notice. Let me just take a notice that, in fact, most of the individual, there have been a number of studies that I have reviewed where a number of individuals who now bike to work are no longer taking their cars, and as a result of that, it has reduced carbon emissions in the air and have reduced congestion. Thank you and respect your opinion, but I vehemently disagree.
The city's first on-street protected bike path was installed last fall on 9th Avenue in Manhattan, physically separating cyclists from motor vehicle traffic. This received the Project of the Year award from the Institute for Traffic Engineers and Transportation Engineers, and recent counts have shown a 57% increase in the number of cyclists using the avenue and a 50% decrease in the number of vehicle crashes since its installation.
I would like to legislate that no bicycles of any kind, including messengers and deliveries, be allowed in the borough of Manhattan, as they impede commerce and bus transportation and the safety of pedestrians, especially the elderly.
In Copenhagen and in Amsterdam, nearly 40% of commuter trips are by bike. In Berlin, about 12% are by bike. In Paris, 4% of trips are by bike. And London is moving forward with a very aggressive bike commuting program. As a world-class metropolis facing similar growth and environmental challenges, we too must become a city where bicycling is a serious mainstream mode of transportation.
I ask that the city of New York, the city of commerce, not be compared with other cities here or abroad. We are unique New York. We are a city of commerce, and that focus must never be forgotten.
My name is Lynette Chang. I work for a folding bike manufacturer, and I represent folding bike companies. But first and foremostly, I'm a bicycle commuter and traveller of 15 years, and I haven't owned a car for 15 years. I'm certainly absolutely not here to sell anyone a folding bike, but I just want to point out that in listening to all this, there seems to be an absolutely no greater solution that would be a zero cost to landlords, and that is, in fact, if people were able to bring folding bikes into buildings. Now, last year I actually did an experiment in New York. I took my folding bike to 11 different office buildings, PricewaterhouseCoopers, the library, GM building, to see how if I could get in through the guards. And the bike was covered completely in a bag. I got into 9 of 11 buildings. There is no rule that says you can let folding bikes into a building. Amtrak has allowed folding bikes on trains at all times now, and some airlines. So I support measure 871, is the access. But I'd be very happy if we'd say access, and then if you've got a folding bike, because then no one has to provide anything at any cost. The cost is borne by the commuter.
Was that Bruce? What do you think? There was a lot of opposition, but I think that when everybody considers the situation, I think they'll probably pass what they need to pass.
I was the only person fore and aft who mentioned folding bikes, and we're all doing our bit, aren't we? You're riding a down-to folding bike.
Personally, because I want to ride when I can, and I find it's a problem, so legislation like this might work.
I want to be able to get into buildings with my folding bike.